Respect isn't given because of how loud you talk, how strong you look, or how much you've achieved. Respect comes from how well you carry yourself when everything around you is trying to make you lose control. You can have money, status, intelligence, but if you can't control your emotions, all of that means nothing. Because the moment you let anger lead, pride speak, or ego act, you've already handed your power away. Control is what separates the great from the average. It's what turns chaos into strategy and pain into progress. Life will test you. People will say things just to get a reaction. They'll lie about you, disrespect you, and try to break your composure, not because they're right, but because they want to see if you can stay calm when they can't. Every time you react without thinking, you prove them right. Every time you stay silent, you prove you've grown. That's why emotional control is not weakness, it's strength under restraint. It's knowing that your response defines you more than what they did. You don't respond to everything because not everything deserves your energy. You've got to understand something. The loudest person in the room is usually the most insecure. The one who stays calm, who listens, who moves with intention. That's the person people remember. That's the person who gets respect. Control shows maturity. It tells the world that you've mastered yourself, that you can't be moved by gossip, baited by jealousy, or dragged into drama. When you control your emotions, you control your presence. And presence commands respect more than words ever could. There's a difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is impulse. Response is power. When you take that breath before you speak, when you pause before you act, you reclaim control of the situation. You start operating from logic, not emotion. You stop letting others dictate your mood. You stop giving them access to your peace. Because the truth is, nobody can take your power unless you hand it to them. Control your emotions, and you'll start to see everything differently. You'll stop chasing validation. Stop explaining yourself to people who don't deserve the explanation. Stop wasting time trying to prove something. Instead, you'll move with quiet confidence, knowing that your restraint is your strength. When people see you handle disrespect with grace, pressure with patience, and pain with composure, that's when they'll respect you. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it through discipline. Real power doesn't shout. It doesn't argue. It doesn't seek approval. It just moves, calmly, confidently, purposefully. Because the one who controls their emotions controls their destiny. And the one who can't gets controlled by everyone who knows how to push their buttons. The emotional control is the foundation of true respect because it reveals who you really are when life tests your patience. Anybody can act disciplined when things go their way, but the real measure of strength is how you respond when things fall apart. When people push your limits, when pressure starts closing in. Respect doesn't come from titles, possessions, or talent. It comes from composure. People respect the one who can walk through fire and not let it burn their character. When you control your emotions, you control the atmosphere around you. You become the calm in the storm, and that calm demands attention without you having to say a word. Losing control might feel powerful in the moment, but it always costs more than it's worth. Anger destroys credibility. Impulsiveness ruins opportunities. Pride blinds you to wisdom. The person who can't control their emotions ends up controlled by the very things they hate. They become predictable, easy to manipulate, easy to provoke. But when you stay centered, when you can keep your peace, even when chaos surrounds you, you become impossible to move. You gain an authority that can't be taught. It can only be earned through discipline and self-awareness. Every great leader, every respected figure, mastered one thing before mastering anything else themselves. They learned that you can't lead others if you can't lead your own emotions. They understood that composure earns trust, and trust builds respect. People might not always agree with you, but they'll always respect you when they see you handle adversity with control instead of emotion. You don't have to yell to be heard. Your stability speaks louder than any raised voice. You don't have to prove your worth through reaction. Your restraint proves it for you. Emotional control also protects your energy. When you stop reacting to every slight, every insult, every negative comment, you start conserving your strength for what actually matters. You begin to move with strategy instead of impulse. That's when people start noticing the difference. Your responses become intentional. Your silence becomes powerful, and your actions carry more weight. Control creates consistency, and consistency creates respect. It takes training to get there. It's not natural to stay calm when someone disrespects you or when life throws something unfair your way. But every time you pause instead of reacting, you build emotional muscle. Every time you choose patience over pride, you sharpen your control. People see that. They might not say it, but they recognize it. They know that you're someone who doesn't break easily, someone who doesn't let emotions decide outcomes. That's why emotional control becomes the foundation of respect, because it proves you're not moved by emotion. You're led by purpose. And purpose commands the kind of respect that words never can. The world will constantly try to test your emotions, not because it cares how you feel, but because it wants to see if you can be moved. People provoke you, not out of strength, but out of weakness. They want to pull you into chaos because chaos is the only place they can compete. The moment you react, they win. They gain control, not because they're right, but because they've made you lose focus. Emotional control is not about ignoring the situation. It's about understanding that your response defines your power. When you stay calm, you remind them that you don't play on their level. You operate from clarity, not emotion. Everyday life will hand you situations that beg for reaction. Someone will talk down to you. Someone will underestimate you. Someone will lie about you, betray you, or disrespect you in front of others. The easy choice is to fight back, to defend your pride. But pride isn't power. Composure is. The one who keeps their peace keeps their direction. When you react emotionally, you hand over the steering wheel. You let temporary feelings dictate permanent outcomes. You let anger speak for you when silence would have said more. The most dangerous opponent is not the loud one, it's the one who doesn't react, who listens, observes, and responds with precision. When you learn to master your emotional responses, you become unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. People can't manipulate what they can't read. They can't influence a reaction you never give. They lose their grip the moment they realize they can't make you move. That's when control shifts. You start leading the environment instead of being led by it. You make decisions from strength, not from impulse. You think clearly, you act intentionally, and everything you do carries weight. It's not about being emotionless, it's about being emotionally disciplined. You feel everything, but you choose what deserves your energy. You stop wasting strength on arguments that lead nowhere, on people who drain your peace, on moments that don't matter in the long run. You stop fighting every battle and start winning wars. Emotional discipline gives you that clarity. It teaches you to respond to situations, not from emotion, but from vision. You start to realize that every reaction has a cost, and not every situation deserves payment. People who lack control will always try to provoke those who have it. They'll mock your calmness, question your silence, try to make you feel weak for not reacting. But the truth is, staying calm in a storm takes more strength than starting one. You build control through restraint, through patience, through silence that speaks volumes. The one who can't be provoked becomes untouchable because no one can dictate their energy. When you stop letting the world pull you emotionally, you start to move with purpose. And that's where true respect begins. Every time you react out of anger, frustration, or ego, you hand your power to someone else. The person who triggers you controls you because they know how to press your buttons and make you move how they want. When you react, you become predictable, and predictable people are easy to manipulate. But when you control your reaction, you control the outcome. You decide when to speak, how to move, and when to walk away. You don't give anyone the satisfaction of seeing you lose your composure. That's real control, not of others, but of yourself. The strongest person in the room isn't the one who yells the loudest. It's the one who stays calm while everyone else loses their cool. Reacting is emotional, but responding is intentional. The difference between the two is power. Reaction comes from impulse, from ego, from insecurity. It's when you let the situation dictate your behavior. But response comes from understanding, patience, and self-mastery. When you respond, you're not being controlled by what's happening, you're shaping what happens next. You become strategic. You move with wisdom instead of emotion. You see, the world rewards composure. It respects those who don't get pulled into chaos, who stay grounded when everyone else is spinning. That kind of calm doesn't come naturally. It's built through discipline, through learning when to walk away, when to stay silent, and when to strike with precision. People will test you just to see what you'll do. They'll throw words at you to provoke a reaction. They'll try to make you act out of character because once you do, they can point and say, "See, I told you who they really are." That's why emotional control is your shield. It protects your image, your peace, and your direction. When you refuse to react, you take away their weapon. You deny them the power to define you. You show them that your mind is stronger than their manipulation. Patience is power. Restraint is power. Silence is power. When you know how to hold your peace, you're no longer playing the same game as everyone else. They're fighting for attention, for dominance, for validation. You're fighting for focus, for peace, for purpose. You stop letting emotions make your decisions. You've stopped letting people pull you into fights that don't serve your mission. You stop trading your dignity for the satisfaction of a temporary reaction. You begin to realize that composure is not weakness, it's mastery. It's how leaders move, how winners stay consistent, how disciplined people stay on top. The world belongs to those who can stay calm when everyone else is losing control, because calmness gives you clarity, and clarity gives you control over everything around you. Discipline and emotion is what separates those who crumble under pressure from those who rise through it. Anyone can stay composed when things are easy, but when life shakes you, when people test your patience, that's when your true strength shows. Discipline isn't about forcing yourself to feel nothing, it's about mastering what you do with what you feel. Anger will come, frustration will rise, disappointment will visit, but you decide how long they stay. You choose whether those emotions control your direction or fuel your growth. The ones who stay grounded when the storm hits are the ones who have trained themselves not to be ruled by impulses. Every moment of your life, you're teaching the world how to treat you. If people see you lose control easily, they know how to handle you. Push a little and you'll break. But when they see you handle disrespect with calm, adversity with patience, and chaos with order, you become untouchable. They stop trying to manipulate you because they realize you're not led by emotions. You're led by principle. That's what emotional discipline gives you. Respect without demanding it. People respect what they can't shake. They respect stillness under pressure, calmness in conflict, composure in chaos. You become the anchor in a room full of waves. To build that kind of control, you have to train your mind daily. You can't let every small thing bother you. You can't let people's words define how you move. Emotional discipline starts in the little moments when you choose not to respond to negativity. When you choose peace over pride. When you choose silence over reaction. You're not suppressing emotion. You're mastering response. You start realizing that reacting doesn't fix anything. It just drains your energy and hands power to whoever triggered you. The disciplined man knows when to speak and when silence carries more weight. He knows when to act and when patience is the smarter move. Life will constantly throw tests your way to measure your control. The disrespect, the betrayal, the delays, they're all opportunities to practice emotional strength. Most people fail not because they lack potential, but because they can't control their emotions long enough to see their breakthrough. They quit when it gets hard. They lash out when they feel disrespected. They lose focus when things don't go their way. But the disciplined one endures. He doesn't waste energy proving a point. He channels that energy into progress. He doesn't need to react to show power. His consistency speaks louder than any argument ever could. Emotional discipline gives you endurance, and endurance turns potential into greatness. When you master discipline in emotion, you don't need to chase validation or react to every challenge. You carry peace within yourself that no one can take away. That kind of presence commands attention without asking for it. It's not about pretending not to care, it's about caring deeply, but never letting that care make you weak. Respect doesn't start with how you treat others. It starts with how you handle yourself. Mastering yourself is the highest form of discipline because it means you've learned to lead from within. You can't earn respect from the world if you're at war with your own emotions. People watch how you react when life doesn't go your way. They see whether you stay calm under pressure or let anger dictate your actions. The person who can't control their emotions is like a ship without a captain moving, but without direction. The one who controls himself, though, becomes a force that others can't ignore. When you master yourself, you no longer need to chase validation. Because respect follows stability. It takes strength to hold yourself back when everything in you wants to react. It takes courage to stay calm when others are trying to provoke you. Most people are slaves to their emotions. They move based on how they feel at the moment. But mastery is different. Mastery means you've built a wall between your emotions and your decisions. You feel everything, but you don't act on impulse. You act with purpose. Every word, every move, every silence is calculated. You start thinking 3 steps ahead, not just about the moment but about the outcome. That's what separates leaders from followers, the ability to think beyond the heat of emotion. When you can master your reactions, you start mastering your results. You no longer waste time arguing with people who don't matter. You don't explain yourself to those who aren't listening. You stop chasing peace in people and start creating it within yourself. You become focused, centered, and precise. You understand that emotional control isn't about being cold, it's about being powerful. You're no longer tossed around by what's happening outside because your strength comes from within. People begin to notice your energy, your consistency, your calmness. They may not say it out loud, but they feel it. They respect it. They realize you're not someone they can easily shake. Mastering yourself isn't a one-time act. It's a daily practice. It's in how you talk to yourself when no one's watching, how you handle setbacks when no one's clapping. It's in the moments when you choose peace over pride, focus over frustration, patience over panic. Every time you do that, you build a layer of strength that makes you unbreakable. You start to understand that power isn't about controlling others, it's about being in full control of yourself. When you know how to manage your emotions, no one can use them against you. That's how real respect is built, through silence, through restraint, through calmness that demands attention without words. It's not about being above others, it's about being above the noise, above the reaction, above the weakness that most people give into.